I was trying to set it up so the dolls were like still in the frame, but I couldn't really do that with it looking good. So now their heads are kind of cut off. So anyway, hi, you're watching Disney Channel. Welcome back to, sorry that my blue light glasses keep getting messed up in the window. I just thought they looked cool and now they're ruining all the shots. Anyways, welcome back to, I didn't really want to be a YouTuber this week because I'm getting over a flu and I don't feel good, but I felt like I still should be a YouTuber, and so I was like, okay, well, what can I film? Because right now everything on my list of things I want to film, I have no motivation to do. And then I remembered that at the end of the year I was going to do a year-end book kind of thing, talking about all the books I read. And then I was like, well, I've already read so many that I'm kind of starting to lose memory of some of them. So I'll just do that now. I was gonna do this like at the end of the year, but I think we're just gonna do this as long as I feel like it. Like every couple months, we're just gonna go over the books I read. Because again, I've read too many already that I can't really remember what is happening in some of them. So we're just gonna talk about them now. Anyway, here are my books that I read. I'm gonna pose for the thumbnail now. I hope this is making you really uncomfortable. Okay, so starting off, this was the first book I read this year. I read it over winter break. I think I read it in like maybe a week because I was really into it. So even though I read like multiple books at a time, I didn't put this down because I really liked it. In a water break, I'm talking too much. So anyway, this is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. Holly Black is now my favorite author. We'll get into that later, but like 3 of these books are written by Holly Black. So honestly, I think this is like potentially one of my favorite books of all time at this point. I'm just taking off the blue light glasses. This is stupid. I feel insecure because I didn't want to put makeup on today and they like wear my makeup. Honestly, one of the top books I've ever read. I loved this. It's basically just like zombie apocalypse, but they're vampires instead. And there's also like a really long road trip segment. Like, I don't know about you, but I love a good apocalypse road trip setting. Like, I just love that. Imagine The Walking Dead, but they're vampires and they're actually able to contain the virus. So like there's still life, but life's just like a little bit weird. And there's these places called cold towns where if you want to just go live there, or if you're infected or you are a vampire, you can just go live there, but the only thing is you can never leave. It's like $1 million or something to leave. You need to like know people to really be able to get out. Other things too, but as I said, I'm not retaining the information as well because this was 3 months ago and I've read 7 books since then. But anyway, so my only real qualms with this book is I wish that the road trip section went longer. The thing is that it just didn't last as long. Like the first half of the book is just them on the road trip and then they get to Cold Town. But I wish that like they had spent more time on the road. But like also, Holly Black just did a really good job with this book because we're gonna get into this in a bit, but you know, like a lot of people I'm sure feel this way. I get very overwhelmed when books information dump on you. Like as soon as you start the book, it's just like bam, 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 this is the world, this is the lore. And Holly Black kind of does that in one of her other books that we're gonna talk about. And that really overwhelms me, but this was done very well, where it literally just like one chapter would be about what's going on, and then the chapter after that would be like, hey, this is the rules, this is how the government works now, this is the vampires. One of the only reasons that the vampires even are an issue is like apparently like in this world vampires have always been around, but they've been very well hidden and no one has like really known about them. Normally they kill anybody or they turn anybody that, you know, they feed from or that they want to be turned, but like they've been doing a very good job of keeping themselves hidden. And the only reason that this whole apocalypse even happened was because one random dude was like, what if instead, and he actually isn't random, it all ties into like the main story and like the other characters, but without knowing that, basically the context that everyone knows in the book is one random dude one day was like, what if instead of like killing my victims or turning them, what if I just leave them? And then apocalypse. I really liked the main character. She was basically like take Katniss and like take away a lot of Katniss's trauma and give her a personality. And I'm not saying that as an insult, because there's literally a chapter in the Hunger Games where Katniss acknowledges that she doesn't have a personality because her whole life she just had to take care of her family, so that's done on purpose. But like, pretend like Katniss was able to develop a personality outside of taking care of her family, but she was still kind of traumatized. That's basically what Tana is. It had a very open ending, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that, because like the open ending was no matter what, they did have like a good, happy ending, but like it could have gone in so many different ways, and I really, really, really would have rather seen how it goes than just be like, it's just up to your imagination of what they did next. Adjust my chair and see if the light will be less in my eyes. That didn't do anything. I really want Holly Black to write more of this book. Like, I want her to write a sequel, but I know she is never going to because she is too busy with the other books that we're going to talk about. But I really, really wish that she would. I really do. Anyway, on to book 2. I don't even have to say anything. I could just leave it at this. So, I'm really late to this party, like really late. There's a lot of books that I didn't read, like really big YA books that I never read as a kid or even recently that I've been trying to go through. The only reason I even put this on my list was because I saw a TikTok saying there were rumors that like they were making a TV show and Sadie Sink was gonna be cast as the main character whose name I forgot. So I was like, oh my god, I love Sadie Sink because she was Taylor Swift that one time. And I guess she was also in Stranger Things. I had it on my book list, and my best friend picked it up for me for my birthday, and it was really funny because the first thing I did when I opened the bag with the book in it is I just screamed, oh my god, it's Sadie Sink! And we quote that a lot now. But anyway, so the selection, if you don't know, and this is like one of the reasons I wanted to do this video now, because I kind of forgot all the information about this book after reading it. I don't know if that's just because I had so many other books that I was so focused on, or if it was just really bad. I'm still trying to figure that out. Take the Hunger Games, like all the things from the Hunger Games, like the war, the hierarchy people, the different districts. Why did I say it like that? The different districts, and then pretend that instead of fighting to like survive and making like a death game of children, instead of that, every like 20 years the prince just has to like pick get a giant selection of women, and they compete for his affection and to be a princess, mostly just to be a princess. And that's what the selection is. So it's literally just the Hunger Games, but for the girlies. Like, I remember reading it, but I also don't remember anything about it at the same time. The only real qualm I had with it was at the end. We're gonna get to that. The only other thing I remember, like, being something that I wanted to talk about was because this was, like, around the time that all those books were popular, like the I'm Not Like the Other Girls books. I was really hoping this would have something super offensive in it that I could be like, oh my god, guys, did you notice this thing in the selection that we didn't care about back then, but now we care about now? I was just hoping there would be, like, a moment like that. And I thought that there was, because she was like, like, all these women are just putting on so much makeup, but I could never do that. But then, like, the thing is that I can't be mad at it because she says it in a very different context. She basically just says that, she's not really into this competition. She doesn't really want to be there. She's trying to get over her ex-boyfriend, who is a jerk, by the way. She'll wear makeup, but only makeup that really accentuates her, and she gets upset at the other girls for, like, putting so much makeup on to the point where you can't even tell who they are. And that's, like, we don't do that. We don't judge what other people do, you know? Like, let people wear crazy makeup if they want. But the thing is that she's right the way she's saying it, because in the context, she's not necessarily mad at the women. She's mad at this society that makes the women feel like they have to do it to get this guy's attention so that they can, like, save their families and, like, be, you know, the princess and stuff, so I can't really be mad at it because it's a valid argument, you know. Basically, yeah, the ending just got me upset because basically the prince is in love with her and he actively says that. Sorry, I'm just spoiling the selection for you. I don't care anymore. You shouldn't care either. It's just the selection. Anyway, the prince is just like, I am in love with you, America. And she is like, cool, I could love you, but I'm still getting over my ex, so I don't actually really know if I could love you. So he's kind of like, okay, well, I still need to keep this competition going because if I can't choose you because you don't choose me, then like I still need to pick someone else out. So I still need to keep these other girls around, but just so you know, as long as you say yes, I am gonna pick you. And she's like, cool, I'll just get to know you more. And then her ex comes back into the scene, and then she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna live my life, you know, like I'll still meet up with my ex, I'll meet up with the prince guy who has like been nothing but nice to me, and I'll just get back with my ex maybe if I feel like it, or maybe I'll date the prince, I don't know. But that got me upset. Like, at one point in the book, she gets upset that he's keeping other women around, and he yells at her because of, like, something. I don't even remember, but he, like, yells at her, and he's like, you literally, like, I need to choose another one. If I can't choose you, you put me in a position where I need to keep these women around. But she still gets mad at him, which is really stupid, because he does need to choose one of them. That's the rules. He doesn't want to do this either. Like, he wants to do this as little as she wants to do this, but she still gets mad at him, and he yells, but he apologizes and he communicates his feelings, and we love that. We love a man that will communicate his feelings and apologize. And it's like just really frustrating because she's like frustrated with him, but then her ex comes back in the scene and she's like, well, I'm just gonna use them both, and maybe I'll go back home and date my ex, or maybe I'll like be a princess with this guy that actually cares about me and can take care of me and my family, and I could like actually be really good politically because I'm one of the only people that know what's going on outside the castle, because she's like a way lower district or whatever than the rest of the girls. And it's like, it's just really frustrating. Sorry, my boss texted me. It's just really frustrating. But anyway, that's the selection. I don't know when I'm gonna read the sequel to this, honestly. Like, I'm gonna read the whole series. I'm not in that much of a rush to read it. I'm gonna be totally honest. It's just, you know, it is what it is. We have the Twilight Princess manga, the second one. So Twilight Princess is like my favorite Zelda game. It's been my favorite Zelda game like forever. And I got the first manga when it came out, but then for some reason I just kind of forgot about it and never got the others. I think it's because I read through like little ones like this so fast, like within like an hour or two, and then it's like, well, I spent $9 now and I only read this for 2 hours, so that's upsetting. That's why a lot of times I'm a little bit more hesitant to like buy manga. I don't remember too much of what happened, honestly. Like, instead of, because you know, in the game, after you do like the whole tutorial thing, you go to the first temple, which I forget the name of. I'm pretty sure it's just the forest temple, but I don't remember. I'm very tired. But like, you know, in the game you just go there and there's like the whole weird little plot with the monkeys. But I really liked the way that the manga like incorporated that, and I really liked like he had a real main character moment of like, you know, like I am gonna protect the monkeys and I am gonna protect the people. I'm gonna save my friends and my family, and I liked that. There's like a sticker in here, and I don't know why I didn't notice that the first time I read it. It was just like in the middle. I have been reading, this is one of the ones, like a couple of these I started reading before the new year, but I finished them after, so that's why like they're in this, you know, genre. I've been reading this one for a while, I think, because I read, this is the sequel to the Ash Princess. There's 3 of them, they're a trilogy. And I started reading the Ash Princess, I think it was last May. It was a really good book. I loved it. This one took me a little longer to read through because I wasn't really into it as much, honestly. Like, it was still a good book. I think, like, I liked the characters more. I liked how they interacted more. I really liked the development. Like, I liked the characters in this more, even though they're the same characters. But I didn't really like the vibes and the aesthetic, and it also just made me really anxious because, like, there was just a lot of drama going on. I am not going to explain the whole plot to this because I don't really want to, because the other book we're about to get into is going to be a lot for me. It's gonna take a really long time for me to express all my feelings about it. So I'm just gonna say, like, in a short summary, this is the sequel to the Ash Princess, and in the Ash Princess, this girl has been living with this one kingdom for like her entire life because they came and pillaged her other kingdom and killed her mother, and they kind of kept her alive and kept her as like one of their little like trophies to, you know, ward off the other people. But she's just been there for years, and they kind of like gave her trauma and destroyed her personality. But then one day she just kind of, I'm not gonna mention why she snaps out of it because it's really sad, but she just kind of like snaps out of it, and her childhood friend finally finds her, and they start the rebellion. And then the second book is basically like she finally, you know, spoilers, but she finally gets out of that kingdom, and she finally, like, you know, the rebellion basically like really starts for real in this book. It was really good. This is like one of those YA books where, like, I'm honestly surprised it isn't more popular, and also like it just doesn't feel like a YA book at all. Like, legitimately, the plot, the characters, the stuff that happens, this is like the least YA book that I have ever read. So, like, there's still a lot of drama, and there's still, like, a love triangle, which I hate those. They're really irritating. But, like, this, honestly, if you're looking for, like, you want kind of, like, a Renaissance-y read, like, want a really fun, crazy plot, but you also don't want to deal with a YA, the Ash Princess series is really a great book series to read. I still haven't read the last one because I'm reading too many things and I kind of got sucked into the next book we're reading. But yeah, I'm just letting you know, this is a fun time. Not really, it's really stressful, but like, it was a good book. Okay, so now we're on to the book that has completely taken over my life and is the only thing that I think about all the time. And I read it, I've read it so much, and it makes me sad because I want to live there. So, I'm not going to get into like major plot points of this book because I don't even know how to explain some of the stuff that happens because there's just so much. And a lot of you probably know this book. It's it's very big in the book talk community. It's very big in the book community. It's kind of hated on because it's advertised. It was advertised by Book Talk. Like, all these people were like, dang, this is like a really hot, like, romance enemies to lovers. And that is there, but that is not what the book is about at all. It's like all political stuff, not like real world politics, like fake world politics, which we love that because, like, I don't want to think about real world politics sometimes because it stresses me out and there's too much stuff that's wrong with everything. So I'd rather read these fake politics. I'd say about 50% of this book is fake politics, and then 25% is about this girl's like traumatized, dysfunctional family, and then the other 25% of this book is actually enemies to lovers. Carden and Jude, that's the enemies to lovers. Their relationship gets more detailed and more like important to the plot as the books go on, but I'm gonna be honest, he's there, but he is barely around for the first half of this book, and when he is around, he is a psychopath, and you hate him. And, like, honestly, I'm not gonna deny that he's still kind of a psychopath. Like, she should just stay away from him, but it's okay, because eventually he has character development, so it's okay if he was toxic and tried to kill her in the past. This is another book that, like, I honestly am surprised that this is considered a YA book because there is like so much stuff that's going on all the time, and like to some extent I do understand why this is a YA book, but this does not feel like a YA book. Not because of how dark it is, like it's definitely not like too dark to be a YA book, but like just because of all of the stuff, like I said, like I don't even know how to explain some of the stuff that goes on in this book because there's so much. My best friend's always trying to get me to read Game of Thrones, and he'll try to like sit down and explain the stuff that happens just in the first book just so that I can like get an idea of if I want to read it. And he doesn't even know where to start. And I'm not comparing this to Game of Thrones because I've never even read or watched Game of Thrones, but this has the same energy where like I feel like I cannot explain this to him at all. Like I don't even know where to start. But yeah, so this is my favorite book series. I love it with all of my heart. I'm not like this has legitimately changed my life. Okay, so don't worry, we're gonna get back to the Folk of the Air, but the next book, what book am I even on? Where am I? Okay, so book number 6. It's the 7th Fruits Basket manga, in case you can't see it. I don't really know much to say about this because it's just I've watched Fruits Basket, the show, like, multiple times. So, like, they all just kind of, like, I love reading them, but they all just kind of blend together. This was the one where they went on the class trip. So that's, like, the only really defiant thing I remember from it, but I still loved it. Okay, anyway, back to this. It got better somehow. She made it even better than the first one. I can't decide if I do like this one better than the first one, because even though, like, I think we're in the world more, and there's more, like, drama, and I just kind of, maybe I did just like this more, but I still feel like nothing's gonna outlive the first one and, like, your introductions into the world. Which reminds me, I forgot to mention this, but I was extremely overwhelmed within the first, like, 5-6 chapters of The Cruel Prince, because she just, like, remember how I said in Cold Town, she explains stuff really well, where, like, one part of it would be, like, the plot, and the second part would be, like, the lore. She did not do that in Cruel Prince. She just, like, threw you in the deep end and was like, here are all of the things that are happening and that happen, and this is how the world works, and this is a huge, really expansive, complicated world, and I'm gonna try to explain all of it to you in, like, 4 chapters. So I didn't like that. But after that, it got really good. But I just love her writing because I love the parallels she does. Cruel Prince, the first book, opens up with them talking about Jude before she had to go to the magical Feyland. And they're talking about how, like, she's eating fish sticks, she's watching cartoons, she's like 7. And, you know, just to clarify that. And they're just talking about, like, just describing, like, a lot of basic, just suburban things. But basically, after her parents get killed, part of the prologue chapter is just this little thing that says, you know, like, in the Fey realm, there's no fish sticks, there's no cartoons, there's none of that. So basically, at the end of this book, she kind of gets, like, exiled. There's this, it's like a callback where she's, like, now in her sister's apartment, and she's sitting there and she's eating fish sticks and she's watching cartoons. And I just really, it's like, I know it sounds so dumb, like, just seeing where the story was when it first described that to you, and then seeing her now, like, so broken down and, like, been through so much and been in the Fey realm, like, her whole life at this point, and, like, she's back in an apartment eating fish sticks and watching cartoons. Like, it's just such a good book. It's just such a good book. But yeah, so that's everything I have read from January to now. It is, like, mid-March. So if you want to check any of these books out, I recommend The Cruel Prince at the top. Yeah, I hope that you have a great day. I hope you read lots of books, and if you don't read books, start reading books. What is wrong with you? I'm joking. I'm not actually that person. But, like, you know, find a fun hobby to do. Go do something. But, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna head out now.